Welcome back, everybody. Happy New Year. Thank you for joining me. My name is Ivan Tamba, and I am one of the directors here with the Okra Network, your one-stop platform connecting you to organizations and projects in Africa, looking to improve African communities. The Okra Network is a registered nonprofit looking to create visibility, bring organizations in African communities together, promote sustainable projects. We believe we can do all this through the power of networking. Today, we have Micheal Akampurira from Integrity Youth Forum in Uganda, a youth-led organization that works to end poverty among the youth in Uganda. Micheal, thank you for joining me today. It's a pleasure speaking with you and introducing you to the world.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ivan, and I'm glad to have this meeting with you.
All right, well, so Micheal, could you introduce yourself to us?
Yes, once again, my name is Akampurira Micheal. I'm a co-founder and the director for Integrity Youth Forum Uganda. Our focus areas majorly are about three thematic areas. We focus more on ICT education, a major component in our organization. We focus on health because we believe health is important and it's an engine for any other thing we'd like to do. But also we focus on income generation. We want to see how our youth can participate, one, in ensuring that they are uplifted in the area of ICT because it's the way to go. If youth are to thrive in the era we are in, they need to know ICT, and majorly we focus on imparting them with computer skills. On the area of health, we tackle the issue of public health with respect to a girl child. Here we're emphasizing on making of reusable sanitary pads, but we also focus on other WASH programs like community outreaches to improve the area of health and sanitation in most of the communities. Health is important in the community where we operate because we operate in rural areas and slum areas around the city where the issue of hygiene is a big problem. And that's why we focus on the WASH programs. Then the third issue we tackle is the issue of income generation, where we support young people with startup capital to start small businesses, but also we do business trainings. We help these young people to understand entrepreneurship and business, to have entrepreneurship and business skills, which are important for them to survive. We all know that young people are unemployed in most of the countries in Africa. And so unless they embrace the concept of entrepreneurship, we will still have a challenge with youth unemployment. And that's what we are trying to tackle, to make sure that at least youth who are not employed can start something with the small capital they have to make sure that they can survive and also support their families. In this, we have tried to empower young women and teenage mothers with some capital to do small scale businesses. Here we are talking about ladies who sell like chips, those who have tailoring business, they can make some clothes. We've supported those who are in markets, who have smaller stores in markets to sell foodstuffs, to make sure that such people can really generate some income, support their families. Generally, that's what IFU does, and that's what we have dedicated our lives to do.
So Micheal, what made you reach out to me a couple of years ago?
I came to know about the Okra Network through an Instagram page, and I really saw the vision of Okra. I found out that it was going to benefit not only Integrity Youth Forum Uganda, but other organizations in Africa whom we share the same challenges, but also aspirations. And so I saw the objectives of the Okra Network, the three of them. One, which was about increasing the visibility of African organizations, which we are part. The second was about unity, encouraging unity among organizations in Africa, which is actually also important because unless we unite together, we will not be able to solve challenges which Africa faces. Then also the issue of supporting sustainable projects, Of course, every organization, especially in this post-COVID era, is facing the challenge of raising funds to support different interventions. And so, coming to the Okra Network, I knew, if possible, Integrity Youth Forum Uganda would be able to benefit on those three issues I've talked about. Yeah. And that's why I was able to contact Ivan to see how we can work together.
To be honest with you, I received messages here and there from different people. I received support, questions, and the difference with Micheal was he wanted to learn how he could help. And then as time went on, I felt Micheal could be an extremely important component to the Okra Network. And since then, I mean, he's been working with us as our director of projects, and he's been able to write projects, and he's head starting our major project that's coming up, the Feminine Hygiene Project, with another organization. To go back to the topic of IFU, you mentioned to us sort of your goals and the visions, but what are your personal goals for IFU? What would you like to see at the end of the day?
Maybe I take you back to why I thought about IFU in the first place. I'm born from the village in the western part of the country. And my first time to go to the city, it's when I was going to the university. And it was my first time to touch a computer in my life. So it was a very big challenge because I'd never seen a computer for my education life until I went to the university. And so when I reached at the university and I saw the opportunity I had gotten because I had gotten exposed to the city and also to the university. And my friend, the only reason why I went to the university is because I performed well and I went on government sponsorship. I believe if I had failed to get government sponsorship, I would remain in the village. And so when I got that opportunity, I felt, yes, for me, I've gotten an opportunity, I'm exposed. I need to see how I can support children who share the same background like mine. And I believe that in rural areas and in slums, they are the same children who have faced the same challenge that I have faced, who need support. And that's why my concern is focusing on those children. So my objective is to make sure that the vulnerable children who grew up like me also reach where I've managed to reach. That's what drives me each day. I really want to see that there should be equality in all spheres of life among all the children, among all the youth. Talk of the digital space, talk of equality in employment, talk about other services, social services. I feel that children who have grown up from rural areas should have the same benefits like those in urban areas and those from rich families. And for me, my role is to make sure that I bridge that gap.
That's what we want at the Okra Network. We want to be able to utilize community members and put them at the forefront of these causes, because if you have familiarity with the community, the project, the needs, there's no reason why you shouldn't be head starting these programs. There's no reason why you shouldn't be the spokesperson for these communities. And I think oftentimes when we talk about nonprofit work, communities, are often put to the side at the expense of the organizational's goals. And as you know, within the nonprofit space, if we lose sight of the community, we've lost sight of the entire mission.
Of course.
Right. So what are some challenges that you've faced working in the nonprofit space in these communities?
There are quite a number of challenges, but I can summarize them. One, most of these communities we work in, they are not easy. They don't adapt to change easily. They like leaving the status quo. Some of the empowerment programs we bring, they take long to be grasped. But of course, even the level of education they have is very low. For example, it's hard to teach someone who has never gone to school and you teach that person how to use a computer. So it's very challenging. They just need to have that basic education, which is actually not common in most of these areas. That's one of the challenges we've gotten. But also, we started as young people who were not yet exposed. We never had connections to donor funding, and there are very few people to really understand our vision. Usually, when you're young, some people despise your vision. They don't really believe in what you can do. So raising resources to support such communities has been a challenge. But of course, where there is vision, where there is a will, there is always a way. That's why we have not given up. We are still pushing to make sure that we really achieve our goals.
Yeah, where there's a will, there's a way. Anyone working in the nonprofit space knows that you have to have will. It's unpredictable. But all right, so you've been working in these communities. You know what the community needs. You know what they're facing. You know some of the challenges. So overall, what is community support like?
When you want to support a community, you have to first identify their needs. Yeah, if you don't identify the need of a community, you'll not have success in your project. Otherwise, you'll tackle an issue which is not a problem to them, and they will not participate. And the second issue I will talk about is you ensure community participation. These people understand what they want better than us who bring interventions. So these people should be part of decision making on whichever intervention you intend to bring to these communities. So community participation is key, and sometimes they do cost sharing in some of the resources, in mobilizing resources for the projects we bring on board. So that's also key. But also, for you to work with these communities, you have to be patient. You have to understand that their level of understanding is not the same as your own level of understanding. So sometimes you have to be patient with them. I'll give an example. Last week, we launched an IT project and we expected 10 girls to participate. But the whole of last week, we were able to have 5. The other 5 gave excuses. Remember, we are dealing with teenage mothers. Someone will tell you, oh, my child is still sick. I plan to come next week when the child recovers. Another one will tell you, okay, I have a patient I'm taking care of in the hospital. So you have to be patient with them. And we are patient with them, and we expect them starting this week that they will join others and start studying. So that is the patience I'm talking about. You have to understand that these people have their own challenges. So if you try to push them, they will not enjoy the intervention you're bringing in their life. So it's good to be patient with the people you're serving, but also ensure that they participate in a decision making of whichever project you want to bring on board. That's what community service means, Ivan.
I agree with you. You want to allow people to have a seat at the table. And if they don't have a seat at the table and they're watching the conversation happen, their interest levels are going to be extremely low, as you've seen. That's another thing that we really want to promote. How has the community accepted Integrity Youth Forum?
The community we operate in, we are not visitors there. We've lived with them. We visit even these people in their homes. Some we know them by names. They even know where we stay. And our office itself is located in the same slum area. They are free to visit us every time. And so we are part of the community, and people have embraced us very well because they know, yeah, these are our children. Their role is to come in and support us to get out of poverty. So that's what actually has made us penetrate into the community. Something different from what other organizations do. You'll find an organization's vision is to support rural communities and slum areas, but their offices are in posh areas, in those high-class areas. People do not have access to the offices of these organizations. But for us, we live with these people. Our office is within the community itself, and that has made us to be part of it. And people trust us. They know we are not just coming to take advantage of them. They know we are part of the community and we've come to serve them. Yeah.
So where do you see IFU heading in the future?
Wow. As long
It's a
as
big question.
the founders are alive, IFU is a life organization. It's not going anywhere. We've survived at a time when there is funding and when there is no funding. And so for us, we believe the organization we run is there to stay. And so our desire is simple. Our targets are distributed based on our thematic areas. But if I would use an example of IT education, it's our desire to make sure that we establish ICT innovation centers in different regions of the country. And that's when the vulnerable young people I've talked about will benefit from this. Because by concentrating in one area, we feel some groups of people will not benefit. But it's our desire to have an ICT innovation center for every region where students and young people in communities can always access and learn and get motivated to really participate in this digital era. That's one of our area. We have 5 regions in the country, and our desire is to have 5 innovation centers in those areas. But also, even in other areas, we want to see how we can also empower these young people in the area of business. And our dreams are strategically put into strategic plans. Like our next strategic plan is to empower around 2,000 girls in the next 4 years with business enterprises. We want to see how these teenage mothers can benefit from our services to establish sustainable businesses that can take care of them. Most of these teenage mothers gave birth during COVID, and that was part of the COVID challenges. And that's why we are coming in to focus on them. It was a very big challenge in the rural areas and slum areas during COVID. Most of these girls would really be taken advantage of because of the situation during COVID, and they ended up being teenage mothers. An example is some of the girls we met when we are thinking about the menstrual hygiene project. You remember Ivan, a girl telling you, yeah, I slept with a gentleman because I needed 5,000 shillings, Uganda shillings. That's $1.50 to buy a pad. I mean, such touching stories are the ones we really want to address. When we get those stories, they don't allow us to sleep. We think of the solution we can have for such young girls. So those are the people we're focusing on, and we would like to help them start generating income, sustain themselves.
Well, yeah, when Michael told me the story about the young girl who, felt she didn't have any other options to care for herself, her monthly cycle, something so biological and something so necessary. Those are issues that you don't see very often in the U.S. And so when people hear those stories, they think, how's that possible? And you know firsthand that people will do almost anything for money, and it's not even money to purchase a lavish lifestyle. It's not money to indulge in. It's simply money to get basic needs. And that's a concept that I don't think many people fully grasp. But it shows the importance of programs like IFU and other organizations that are working in these communities to rectify that problem. But yeah, that feminine hygiene project, we are looking to launch that shortly, and it's yeah, we're looking to do a lot of good with it, and any support we can get would be wonderful. I'll attach the link to where you can support that project. But moving more to you, Michael. All right, to Michael and Uganda, because we have a lot of individuals who want to learn more about Uganda and want to learn more about possibly visiting Uganda or just knowing more about the day-to-day. So how is life in Uganda?
Well, Uganda is a good country really to visit. If I am to talk about the weather, our weather is always friendly, whether it's a dry season or the rainy season. Uh, the country is always at peace, and we don't have issues of like the ones I hear in Europe, like it's time for winter and people are struggling, then it's time for summer again, people are suffering. So our weather is friendly, and we are supported by 2 seasons in the year, and most people have access to food, especially those who have access to land to plant crops. But also the nature is good. There are many tourist sites, and especially for US, we receive many visitors from US every year. Yeah, we have lakes, we have national parks, we have falls, waterfalls. We have quite a number of tourist sites. Uganda is known to have the Uganda martyrs, some people who died for their faith at a time when Christianity was introduced in Africa. But of course, they disobeyed the orders of the king by then, who never wanted them to join Christianity. And more than 40 young men were killed by the king. And we also have the shrines where those people were buried, and as one of our tourism sites. And so, yeah, there is a lot. We've also upgraded our tourism to go into agriculture. Yeah, there are also forests to visit. So Uganda is quite good, and it's worth visiting. But of course, like any other African country, we still have some few challenges which we need to work on. Challenges of youth unemployment, it's one of the big challenges. Issues of governance, yeah, democracy is still having gaps here in Uganda. Our politics are a bit slow. So we still have those challenges, but also other challenges we have, of course, education, health. The access to health services is still a challenge just because of poverty and other challenges which are beyond people's capacity. But of course, that's why organizations like IFE exist, want to see what we can add on what already exists to make our country better. But of course, some of these challenges are not only in Uganda, but also in some of our sister countries in Africa. Most of these challenges, we share them as Africans. And it's why actually we thought that by joining Okra Network that joins all the African organizations, we could unite together and really work hard to see how we can really work on those challenges that affect all of us.
Exactly. We want to be able to bring everyone together that has very similar interests in fixing these little issues. I call them little because the challenges are great, but the solutions for them, they're pretty obvious solutions. It's just a matter of putting our heads together and diligently working towards those common goals. All right, so Uganda, definitely a place to visit if you are interested. All right, so now some personal questions for you. Who is your motivation and why?
I'm someone who, what motivates me first actually is the background where I come from. As I've told you, I grew up with my mother. My mother separated with my father when I was 2 years old. We are born 6 of us, 4 boys and 2 girls. And if you want to talk of anything regarding poverty, I've seen it. My first time to put on school uniform, it's when I was going in my last class. We call it primary 7, as you join secondary. And I had to buy uniform myself, doing casual work in people's farms. You go and look for firewood for people, they give you some money. You're trying to collect money to make sure that you get school uniform. So my first 6 years of school, I never had school uniform because my mother couldn't afford to buy it for me. So partly my background motivates me to do what I'm doing because I've passed through poverty. I know how poverty feels. And so that's why actually I enjoy the work I'm doing. And what motivates me is not because maybe I want to be rich like other people, but when I create a solution for a given challenge, when I touch the life of someone, I feel happy because I know where I have come from and I know people who are there, what they pass through. My background is my motivation, Ivan. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's, when we take our personal experiences and we make our lives a part of that, I think that's when we can really make a beautiful product. And I've been able to see that with your passion for the work you do and the passion that you have for your community. Let's see here. So you've told me about Uganda. You told me a little bit about yourself. Do you have any questions for me?
Of course, me as a person, we've really discussed at length. I know what drives you, and I know where you would want to see the Okra Network. But of course, I would like to know, of course, you're the vision bearer of the Okra Network. What would you want to achieve maybe in the next 10 years? Where would you want to see the Okra Network in the next 10 years?
In the next 10 years, I would like to see the Okra Network have regional offices, if not national offices, where we are utilized as a facilitator for organizations and as a facilitator to projects. The amount of work that we see that happens in Africa, we know that change should be done at a much larger scale. But for some reason, change isn't. I believe that, and I'm sure we share the same idea, that we need to pull our heads together and solve these problems. And it's unfortunate, and I think that there are a lot of really good, well-intending people out there who want to see Africa grow out of poverty as well. Too many African voices are silenced in the fight for African problems, or the fight against these problems, and I'm not sure why. I'm sure we could come up with a million reasons why, but I want to see individuals like yourself, Michael, be the lead. It brings a smile to my face because there's so much possibility there, and it all does start now. So, but that was a good question. That was a good question.
Yeah, on my side, I would like to appreciate you for trusting me to work with you, and I'm happy when I really give a service and the service is appreciated. And I appreciate you for trusting me to be part of the Okra decision-making body, and especially in regard to projects. And I want to assure you that I'm committed to this. And actually, recently I was discussing with my wife, telling her that in the next 1 or 2 years, when she sees me resigning where I'm working, she should know that I'm dedicating my time and my life to work for the Okra Network. It's my desire. I'm someone who doesn't want to divide attention. And so I'm hopeful that at a time when Okra will be able to take care of my needs, I'll really dedicate all my time to work for the Okra Network. I love the vision. I love our focus, and I know we are going somewhere. And that's why I'm ready to dedicate my life and my time to serve this vision. Yeah.
I humbly appreciate everything that you've been able to help me with. Those are all the questions I have for you today. We meet every Sunday, so we get a chance to talk all the time. So, closing thoughts. Do you have anything that you want the world to know about either you, IFU, or the missions you plan on embarking on?
Thank you so much. I have one comment to give in regard to organizations not only in Uganda, but also in Africa. Many people have lost confidence and trust from non-profit organizations in Africa because of some few organizations that have misappropriated funds. Some few organizations have maybe not been faithful and trustworthy in handling resources, in handling funds. But that has tainted a bad image on the non-profit sector in Africa. But I want to assure the world that there are those young organizations, they are not actually known. Actually, to your surprise, the big organizations, whom we respect, are the ones who are not creating impact on ground. The community-based organizations are the ones which are creating impact. So I want to inform the world that we still have organizations, we still have change makers who are passionate about transforming communities. And yeah, they are there and they are working, they are doing great work, but they are not known. I'm happy Okra is in to give them visibility. But most of those organizations which are creating impact are not known, and they are doing great work and they need support. And so, yeah, much as there are few who have not been faithful with handling resources, but we have many which are within communities working hard every day to transform the people they serve. So we still have organizations that need support, and these organizations have faithfully served their communities, and given support, they are ready to serve. That is the image I wanted to clear because it has been all over that most African organizations, they are not doing great work on ground, but just funds are there to support only the vision bearers. The founders are just using that money to amass wealth, which is not a good thing. But we have people who have selflessly worked hard to transform their communities. And those people are still there and they need support. Yeah.
They're there. They're always going to be there, and they will work diligently to make sure that they are seen. And that's our responsibility. And our responsibility is to make sure that they are seen, make sure that they are heard, make sure that they're represented. You know, whether we get major support from major entities or not, at the end of the day, it is an obligation to fix these communities. And with or without the support, it will happen. Now, all we want is support for it to be able to blossom into what we know it can become. So Michael's right. There are individuals, and we're in constant communication with them, who are changing their communities, who are doing such great work. And we're going to continue showing that to the world. So again, Michael, thank you so much for joining me today. And for those of you watching, thank you for helping us grow. You all mean a lot to us in sharing our mission. For newcomers, again, thank you. And don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe. I will put all of IFU's information below. And if you want to contact Michael, I will also put his information below. And as always, together we can accomplish anything. I'm Ivan Tamba with the Okra Network. And Michael?
Thank you so much. I'm Micheal Akampurira. I was glad to be part of this interview. I wish you the best of the day. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for listening. See you next time.